Señoras, señores, Film God podcast family, listeners, enthusiasts. Thank you again for coming on. Thank you again for listening to a new episode. I kind of want to give this intro as just as a thank you. So thank you to you for having listened years ago, coming back 2 years. We kind of paused the podcast, but we're back. You're back listening. So thank you firstly for, I guess, making it worthwhile doesn't seem like the right phrase, because I am really doing this to connect with people and hear their stories and hand it out to even just one person if they listen. But it is nice to know that so many people are listening and engaging on the videos and liking and subscribing and sharing. So at the socials, we're at the Film Gods podcast, Spotify or podcast, wherever you get them. Just thank you for downloading and sharing and commenting, and the 5 stars really help. So everything that you're doing really helps to get this out organically. You know, I don't want to buy listeners. I don't want to buy fake bots to get us up to 50,000 downloads in 2 days, because it's not real and it wouldn't mean anything. So thank you for making it so real and enjoyable. I mean, for me, it's the last episode of the year, so shout out to my own family, to my wife, for giving me the space to be able to come and do these, because it is a day out of our time, you know, for doing everything at home that allows me to go on set and know that the kids are all fine and happy and safe and sorted. A massive shout out to all my seconds that have been working for me this year, to all the runners, just all the crews, for making every single day that we walk on set a fun time. And I know it's difficult, and we say this all the time, is you turn up, you're in the car park, you're at breakfast, and you haven't seen someone in a little while, and you go, how's everything? And the standard reply is, everything's cool, everything's fine. Okay, family well? Yeah, family are well. You're good? Yeah, we're good. Cool, let's crack on. Now, that person might have so many things happening in their day-to-day lives and in their own personal lives that you have no idea about. But we turn up, we put it in the back burner, we put it in the back brain, we commit to making the day, and we have fun. And hopefully, fingers crossed, what we do and what we create and what we put out there is enjoyable to the people listening and watching and engaging with the commercials and the films and the content and the promos. So thank you all for listening today. Thank you all for watching what we make, because without the eyes, the Netflix, the Amazons, all those people, they wouldn't be making these shows and wouldn't be making this content. And thank you to our guest, who I think is going to be an interesting one, because he's doing something special. And he's an early adopter. He's moved to another country. He's doing something in the AI space for the creative industry. And I think it's going to be an interesting one for everyone to engage with. There's a video that I said that I watched, and I couldn't remember it, but it was by the Center for Humane Technology. They were the 2 chaps, Tristan Harris and Azza Raskin, who did the social dilemma, but they also did the AI dilemma. So if you do want to just have a little bit of a deep dive into the AI, because I know everything about it at the minute is all scary, and it shouldn't be. I mean, as with everything, duality, there's always going to be both ends of the spectrum that people will engage with. So I hope that you love this episode. I hope you had an amazing Christmas wherever you are, or just having some lovely time off. We're in that little weird space between Boxing Day and New Year's, where you never know what real time it is. Can you put Baileys on the cornflakes, or is it too early? So have an amazing New Year. Thank you all for a fantastic, just a phenomenal 2024 from a podcast perspective and filming perspective. So, I feel lucky. I feel blessed. 2025's coming. It's going to be phenomenal. Enjoy the episode, and let's do this.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Film God podcast listeners, you got a few days left until it's New Year's Eve because that's when this episode is going to drop. I hope you've all had an amazing Christmas. Today's guest I've known for many, many years in a handful of roles. And to say that he has walked the walk and that he can talk the talk is an understatement. When you start from where he started and you grow and you build what he has built, there's going to be so many lessons and so many wonderful stories that I know that you're going to love. And I probably can say this, but as Sting rightly sang, he is now an Englishman in New York. So, without any more waffle, what is your name and what's your role on the call sheet?
I need you to introduce me at every agency presentation moving forward. That was lovely. Thank you, mate. My name is Toby Walsham, and I am the CEO and founder of Imagine This and Made by Humans.
Boom. So, did you have any other industry that you could have got into, or was it always going to be the creative industry? Tell us, where did it start? How did you get in?
I really wish I had explored more, but the truth is, when I was 15, I was running at the mill. My
Wow.
dad worked there. I was a son of a flame op. I thought I wanted to do what he did. Everything that he was working on was so exciting, but basically from a very young age, I was exposed to it, and that's how many people fall into their lines of work. But I did discover pretty quickly that post production was not for me.
The dark rooms, the
Yeah,
hours rendering.
there's such attention to detail, people. Not to say that I don't have that, but it's it's such a process, and pixel pests. You know, they look over every single pixel in that shot. And the dark rooms don't help either. Then also back then when I worked at Frame Store for 10 years.
Wow.
It was everyone was working till 2 a.m. It was like really brutal hours. I think that culture's changed a bit in the post world. It wasn't for me, and it just took for me to go onto one film set, and I was hooked. It was just so exciting. It was so fast paced. I think the speed of the way the film industry operates on set is what got me excited.
So what was that? So you start off and you're in house at the mill post. So I guess you're kind of making teas, getting the mail, doing this, doing
Oh,
that.
yeah, I was a runner at the mill, and also started as a runner at Frame Store. When I was 17.
Oh wow. So you're doing
Just
that what while you're at school? Days off?
I,
Or did
I,
you
I left school at 17.
boom. So
So I
that is
just
it. You're in.
Yeah, I went to a college specifically for film studies, and it just it just didn't excite me. I was like, why am I doing this when I could be learning on the job? I
Yeah.
think I always wanted to just work. Even before I was at the mill at the age of kind of 14, I was like cleaning glasses at a local pub. Just like anything to just get stuck in. I just really enjoyed it. It wasn't really even about the money. It was just about being part of something. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, I remember the moment. I was in the cafe at Frame Store, probably making someone a coffee, and David Hay, producer, comes around the corner and goes, "Does anyone want to go on a film set today?" I was like, "Absolutely, anything." Don't know what that is, but anything to get out of making coffee, I'm in. And I was the runner, I was the animal wrangler, I was a extra on that film set. It was so much fun. I mean, I'm sure you can remember your first day on set and how different that was to everything you'd done before.
Yeah, absolutely. That I kind of weirdly I thought I wanted to get into post. So I went to uni thinking I wanted to be an editor. Got
Right.
there like no, can't be dealing with this, but got in house as an editor, but then worked my way up. I would kind of jump ship, went into production. And a similar thing to you. I was like, I don't know what I want to do, but I know this is the industry. And then I get on set and I see the first AD and I'm like, there it is. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. That's
But
me.
I
There
don't
I
know if
am.
I knew my role that quickly. That's amazing, because I was speaking to a young man the other day I was interviewing him, and he's like 21. He's like, I know I want to be a salesperson. I was like, what? How have you worked that out so quickly? It took me years to discover the role that I was good at and enjoyed, but I certainly found the industry very quickly.
Well, let's talk on that, because that finding your role for me, yes, it was just like a boom. There you
Mm.
go. But how did you find that process, and why production? Why not technical crew?
I don't know. I think it's the puzzles that I enjoy about being a producer. You know, it's every single day there's a fire to be put out, or there's some sort of complex critical thinking you've got to do to work out how to achieve stuff. And I just really enjoy that, and I thrive under that pressure. I actually, when I'm not on a production, say I'm in post or pitching, I feel less productive. Like I thrive under the pressure. Like I don't buckle. Like I know some people struggle under pressure, but that's when at my best. And I think producers are under a lot of pressure all the time, and I don't know. I just enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that says a lot about you, one, as a character, and that's probably why you were, because you were producing young. Not that age really means much if you've got the experience and the courage and the understanding to kind of go, look, I don't know everything, but I'm going to surround myself with people that do. At what age were you then? So how long did you production manage for, and when did you start producing at Framestore?
I did one production managing job. I was a bit of a
It's
bag.
not for you.
I
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
banger, dude. I was like, I PM'd one job and I was like, look how much money I'd made for the company. And then some producer turned around to me and was like, literally, you made the markup. I was like, oh, okay, cool. That wasn't very good. Um, I
It's
just
two
didn't
different roles. It's two totally different roles.
like, I'm better at dealing with clients than I'm dealing with crew. Not to say that I don't have amazing crew members that I call on all the time and have great relationships with, but it's a very different role. And I produced my first job, I think, at like 23, 24, very young. It was a real sink or swim moment. It was like, if I don't get this right, that's it. It's game over. Like I'm not going to be asked to produce another job. And it just happened to go, incredibly well. And that was it.
That pressure, that thriving in that pressure. What was it?
Right.
What was the job? Can you remember?
I I actually can't remember what it was.
Yeah, okay.
You'd think you'd remember your first producing job. I know some of the early jobs I did were Guitar Hero, if you remember
Yes.
that team. And then yeah, it's a bit of a blur. My 10 years at Frame Store, it was pretty full on.
Went quick. Learned a
Yeah,
lot.
flew by. Yeah, it was amazing. It was an amazing experience.
And how did that gear you up then to, so from kind of going from in-house producing a post to then starting in what I would consider classic production? Any difference?
I mean, massively. Yeah, I went from being a small cog in a very large machine at Framestore to being a big cog at a very small machine at my my first proper production company, which I then ran for 8 years. And it started as a music video business, and built it up to commercial company competing against all the big names in the industry, and it was a totally different experience, but incredible and really enjoyable.
Yeah, amazing. And then you kind of went, it's time, New York. I mean, that kind of London to New York, they're both major cities, but why New York? Why this company? And then let's just touch base on, because I saw an article that you had written or that you had spoken about, and I love what you're trying to do with this new company, which is why I wanted to get you on, because you've kind of, I think we touched base offline, that the traditional model of commercials production companies, I think, is changing slash could
Yeah,
be dead. No idea. But what are
I
you?
hope not.
Well,
But
I mean, there's a lot happening. There's the way that we consume content is changing. Influencers, you can give someone a phone. Look at, what was it? There was a thing like that classic Super Bowl ad would have been millions and millions and millions of pounds in production, probably the whole year in pre-production and creative and post. Kanye West, he spent 7 million just to put his stuff on. He shot it on his iPhone, and he made like 20 million of sales for what he was selling. You kind of go, well,
Right, but that's
The model is
influence.
changing.
That's Kanye for
Yes.
starters. That's he's got a huge following, and what that is being disruptive. It's going.
Mm,
Coinbase did a QR code that bounced to the corners of the screen. That's what they spent their money on that, and it's just disruptive. And I think that's what I'm jumping ahead a little bit, talking about Made by Humans, the
yeah. Yeah.
AI business that we've launched. That's what I find really interesting about the conversations around AI at the minute is lots of fear around it.
Yes.
But how many times have you been to Cannes or another industry event and behind some ECD or creative directors, it says on the screen, disrupting the status quo, or I'm trying to think of other things that might be behind them, but like other the whole advertising industry is around disruption. The
Yes.
best ads are like the Kanye's and the Coinbases, very different to the classic family holding a product.
Yeah.
That stuff doesn't perform well. What performs well is disruption, and I think AI is just another disruptive tool.
And that's what it is, because I have been very fearful of what AI will do to filmmaking, content creation. It can make our lives so much easier. We were saying offline, it's like I can throw this clip into an AI tool and it will just chop up in 15 minutes 30 clips, rate them, subtitle them, and that would have been an editor's job. That would have given someone a day or
But
two's
there
worth
is
of work.
definitely lots to be fearful of. And when it dropped, and we were seeing Will Smith eating spaghetti as like some of the early renders, I was like, "Holy shit, guys, we're in trouble!" And that was awful. But that was 19 months ago. Like 19 months is a tiny, tiny window of time when you think about how many, tens of, almost 100 years of filmmaking.
Yes.
How slow that progress was. So it is quite terrifying
Mm.
how amazing AI is now, and it's at its shittest right now. It's only going to get better.
Yep.
So yeah, there is lots to be fearful of, but I think it's really important that people know that to embrace it, to be educated on it, and maybe, and I hope so, and that's the reason that I've launched a whole business around it, is that I think advertising will thrive under this AI tool, because advertising as a whole is all about disrupting, and this
Mm.
is a tool that allows us to do this in a really rapid way. you know Trends and culture are used constantly in the advertising spaces as things that we jump on bandwagons for. But usually it would be like, hey, look at this trend that's happening over here. Advertising agency, can you write some scripts that talk to this insight? Right, 2-3 weeks, send it off for approval, get some production companies to quote on it. Pre-production, 1 month, shoot week, post-production, 6 weeks. That trend and insight
Done.
is all done. That's done. We've
Yeah.
missed the boat if you want to go down the traditional way. But with AI, I think what's going to be really amazing about it is tomorrow a trend happens, an agency can write a script quickly because AI is going to support them in getting their thoughts all together quickly. We can make it. I mean, we're quoting month timelines still because we're definitely in an R&D space where we've got to work stuff out. It's a new technology. Most of our artists are using 10 different platforms to get to a finished product, 10 different programs to get to a finished product. But I am confident at some point it's going to be much more rapid, and we'll be able to do really reactive content, maybe even same day.
Wow. So what's that when you say a month timeline? You're saying month from to pitch to win to
From
shoot
from
to
award,
okay.
we're saying about a month to 6 weeks is a realistic window to deliver a 30-second ad. And that is it basically breaks down as like 25% of it is generating images, because you start with images, then you move it into motion, then it's editing audio, color grade, all the traditional stuff still needs to happen. You want to get that right,
Hmm.
titles, etc. And then we're allowing some time to go back again, because what's great about AI, unlike filming, is if you discover in your edit a shot isn't working, don't worry, we'll go get it. It's
Wow.
not calling a reshoot. It's going and grabbing that shot or changing it slightly. So we're finding that actually what people are liking about AI is the ability to make changes much later in the process.
You know what happens is like the later and later we do it, they're like, you're just about to hit, fucking
I mean, like,
send.
we
And they're
hate
like,
it.
whoa, whoa, whoa. We said we didn't want anything red. Yeah. Can you change all of their costumes to red?
Yeah, we still need
But
people to be behaved, but it
yes,
is true that you can change things much later in that process.
because I love this. And I have been very fearful, as I probably just said,
Mm.
of what AI can do and where it's going and how it's going to change. But let's just spitball a process here. You have a big brand, they want to jump on a trend. Are you like, how does that process break down from a conceptual, do your directors then act as creatives, or is there still an agency in between, or how is the initial idea being formed?
So it works two ways for us at the minute. We have brands coming direct and agencies coming with scripts. So imagine this is the first business that it's now been going for almost 10 months. That is more traditional, but still, a different beast. It's a multidisciplinary roster. So we have the directors, we have the photographers, but we've got creatives that can support in script creation. We've got art directors. We've got creative coders, that just won the Grand Prix at Cannes.
What's a creative coder? Sorry.
Yeah, well, that's what they call themselves because what they do is pretty unique. They use computer coding to create visuals for screens. So, unlike a
Wow.
VFX artist that would animate or composite stuff, they are using code to create visuals. So they won the Grand Prix at Cannes this year they sent an Excel document out to marketers for anyone that was looking to market on Spotify. And when you open the Excel, that opening action generated a full music video, a 3-minute music video within Excel. So all these little cells are like different colors. Imagine very early on computers where you could see the individual pixels and they were all
Yeah.
different colors. They use that sort of thought process to generate like a really epic music video. I'll send it to you.
Oh,
But
amazing.
going back to your question on what the process is, so we do have out of Imagine This the ability to support brands, but what we're finding is people come to imagine come to Made by Humans um, to uh, to R&D it really because a lot of people are
Mm.
still figuring it out. And then we have a roster of 12 artists. Most of them have photography or directing backgrounds. We have some that have architectural backgrounds and that live in
Oh,
a
wow.
different space. But most of them come from an advertising space, which is really important because ultimately that's what we're still doing. We're still dealing with advertisers, marketers, etc. And you need to understand what we're making. And then we would attach a relevant artist to it in the same way that you would pitch a relevant director. So we're treating it we really strongly believe that the AI artists are artists, not operators. They're
Hmm.
not just do the work. They're here to be creatively involved. There's a reason we call the business Made by Humans. It's not just a name; it's a philosophy, if you like.
Mm.
I strongly believe that the human touch is what ensures that art or advertising resonates. On an
Mm.
authentic human level.
Gives it a soul of
Yeah,
sorts.
and that's why I'm a little less, worried and quite bullish actually on AI. Is that I really think AI can't have a hangover. AI can't fall in love. AI can't experience human emotions, and
Yeah.
therefore the human element is always going to be a constant when making things that resonate with other humans. I mean, ultimately, that's what we're still doing in advertising. We're trying to manipulate and encourage people to purchase, and you don't do that without a human involvement.
Mm. I like that because that made by human element, I think, takes away, well, it adds a layer of, I mean, humanity, but it adds a layer of understanding of what the people want and what they are supposed to be feeling when they're looking at this. So that, you say that Excel thing comes up, a human will know the feelings that they're trying to make someone have when they're doing it, whereas the Excel spreadsheet has no idea what's going. It's just dancing. And
Yeah.
I love and what I love about what you're doing is that your background, which we kind of very quickly went through the frame store kind of history, but that understanding of post production, which was the pixel warrior, no pixel something or other,
Pixel pests.
yeah, pixel pest, but that kind of understanding of what a computer can do. It's like we're not going to send a film crew up and shoot in space. But they Framestore won an award for sticking whoever it was up in space and
Or gravity,
yeah,
yeah.
gravity. It's like this has been happening for a very long time where
It's just
we've put
another
humans in
step.
that world. It's just another step.
Another step. I mean, it would be insane to me after the years of free the beard, people of color telling people of color stories, and all this work to get the right people telling the right stories for us to forget the human element of filmmaking and storytelling. So I really do see AI as just a tool. I know it's going to completely change the industry. It already has, and it's going to. There will be people's jobs that become obsolete, but that happens at every technical advancement that we've ever had in human history. But it also opens up a whole other sector with loads of other jobs.
Yes.
So I really just think it is a case of retraining and learning these tools. I am not an expert in AI.
You sound like you're getting there
I'm
though,
not.
dude.
It's impossible to be up to speed. It is that there's a new tool dropping every day. I mean, by the time this comes out, Sora would have only been on the market for about 2 weeks, and we've been waiting for that for 6 months, and we still don't have access to it. And we're meant to be.
What is sorrow? Sorry.
Sora is OpenAI's generative AI for motion.
Okay.
But there's lots of tools, there's tons of them out there, but that is the one that everyone's been waiting for because it seems to be of the highest level. But you try to sign in and get an account today, it's like, we're too busy, sorry. So some of our artists have access to it, but I personally do not.
Yeah.
And it's, to my point, is AI is changing every single day, and it's very difficult to keep up on it. And that's why I think it's such a scary thing for everyone right now, is that you can read an article on it today, tomorrow is a different opinion or different level of finesse, and it will eventually plateau and start to, you'll be able to start to really consume what it is, but it's ever changing at the minute. And that's why our projects have these huge R&D windows to them.
Yeah, and I guess that the appetite for AI generated content is in its infancy because everyone
Right.
wants to see a real person. But actually, at some point, there'll be generations like our kids, the next kids, their kids. They would have been so heavily integrated with virtual reality, artificial intelligence, game playing, computer. It's like it seems like the kind of the move away from seeing real people selling you fish fingers. It's like, well, does it need to be an actual human being, or can we just AI a fish finger to sing and dance for us and it be entertaining? It's like there seems like there's no. I think the Pandora's box is open, but now it's open. There's no idea that can't be made.
We think, right.
I hope. Yeah.
But the to that point, it really still requires a human person with experience, different cultural backgrounds, different life experience to come up with these ideas. AI is trained on a data set. If it hasn't been thought about before, it can't be made. It's a great plagiarizing tool, right? It's great at copying and you can type in. The other day we typed in a potato on a donkey because that's what an image that Robin wanted to see, when we were on a meeting, and it's literally got posted on our Instagram today because we were like, that looks hilarious. I mean, stupid, but you can't get these organic, silly as that idea is, out of these machines without a human going, this is what I want to see today. So I don't think, as much as AI is incredibly helpful creative tool, it cannot replace human creativity yeah, we've got different culture, emotions, insights as humans. I just don't think it can be replaced.
Which I totally agree. And then taking that kind of human element into it. So, CEO, founder, EP, two companies that I think, well, I know it's a very smart thing that you're doing, which is going, what's going to happen in 10 years time? Where do we think the industry could be going in 10 years time? Okay, well, let's work backwards from that. Let's create companies that then can start this, because we are very much at the start of this curve. And it's nice to hear that, the human element will still be there. But what made you not just go to New York and just start, multiple bog standard companies that have been working the same way? Is there something that you've looked at and you've gone, actually, do you know what? Now is the time. This is the place. New York is where it's at. Why New York, and why these two businesses?
Well, the reason I left my last company to do this is that I just saw so many copy and paste businesses. If you look at the advertising industry as a whole, it's a ton of rosters of directors with black and white logos. It's everything looks the same, formulaic websites. We are all selling the same stuff. Some people have better directors than the next company, but ultimately we're selling, give us your scripts, we'll have an opinion on it and we'll execute it. And that is definitely needed. But I didn't want to pollute the already oversaturated production market with another bog standard production company. And for years, people have called on me and I'm sure, we all experience it as individuals in this industry. It's like, hey, Isusko, do you know any great second ADs? Right? Yeah, of course. You've worked with thousands of them. Here they are. Here's my list. I was like, I'm done with that. I'm done with giving out all my intel for free. I've got this amazing group of individuals that I have met over the years, and they aren't all directors, but they all can help. They all contribute to an end product. So I'm going to house them all under one place. So we are now able to, an American term, soup to nuts, any project.
Soup to nuts.
No, it's not a thing that we say in the UK, but I'm very used to it over here. I don't even know what the origins of the sentence are, but it means you can do it from concept through to delivery, every single element of the production. And we really do have a roster that means that we don't have to go outside. Now, we do go outside because I'm a big believer in horses for courses. And I'm going to throw all the
yes, come on, let's keep going at them. Yeah.
And I really think it's important that you find the best of the best for whatever the ask is. Yeah, we have the ability to do that, which is something I'm really proud of that we've built in a very short space of time.
And then talking to that 20-year-old that's going to film school or wants to start their own business, where are they, with the current model and the future model? What's your day-to-day look like? And what should they be trying to do and learn to get ahead of this curve?
Well, look, I regret going straight into the thing I thought I loved, and I was lucky. I fell in. I discovered producing. I did it straight away, and no regrets, right? But if I was to do it all again, I would probably spend a year jumping between different departments and learning different things. Spent a day in a color suite. I spent maybe a week in a flame suite. Like I had exposure to it and I started to learn the terminology. But the people that really impress me in this industry are people that when I'm on a call, I'm like, that was all Chinese, what you just said there. Can you explain that again? Because they've had this real life experience in these other roles that now help and contribute to their role as whatever they are now. And I don't know, younger film school kids, trying to work out what they want to do, try everything, try it for longer than a week as well. I'm reading a book at the minute called oh my God, I can't remember what it's called. It's right there. I'm going to get it.
Go. I'll fill in this time with some lift music. Dun, 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 dun,
It's all backwards, isn't it? Unreasonable hospitality. It's it's brilliant. I'm recommending it to everyone. I'm only halfway through, but
What's the basics? What's the overall arching theme?
um, the author is or was at one point the head of the hospitality side of the best restaurant in the world, voted multiple times, 11 Madison, in New York. And it's just he talks about his route to there and how, whilst he ended up in the hospitality sector, he spent a year as an accountant at a big corporate restaurant, like a massive restaurant chain. He was in the accountant side. Then he spent a year as an auditor where he literally would count oysters every morning to make sure that the right number had been. And whilst these sound like really mundane jobs, and they were, they they gave him this foundation and understanding of the overall structure of those businesses. And I went straight into producing. I wish I had, better understanding of accounting. I wish I had a better understanding of what the creative teams have to do at agencies. I think that I'm not as rounded as I would like to be.
Okay.
As a leader of my business, I wish I had had time at an agency. I'm lucky to have had time at Post House. It really grounded my understanding of that world. But yeah, to the younger people, I guess, listening, go to every different sector of this business and experience it. You might just discover something that really helps you in the long term.
Yeah, see, now I can't see you in accounts for a year. I just can't see it. As much as you say, oh, I wish I'd tasted this. And I don't think that your personality or ambition to want to create would have allowed you the patience to sit and to count oysters for a year. And that's no disrespect. What I wanted to make the analogy is that yes, that person that became, the head honcho of that restaurant, he had to, like, there's different personality types. He had to understand that thing to then be able to move on to the next thing, to understand it, to understand it, to understand it. I think what your superpower is that you are able to just go, I know where the fuck we're going. Yep. I know that this plane is going to New York. I don't need to become a fucking pilot. I will speak to the right people. I will make sure that we all get on the right plane. And you're pulling together of the right people at the right time for the right jobs is your superpower. And you may not say that you feel as rounded. I actually think that your unroundedness is your superpower, because you go, I didn't want to learn a year of accounting, but I'll find the best fucking person who is the accountant.
I think that's very true as to what I've realized is something I'm very good at now, is understanding where I am weak.
Yes.
Feel it. I think the best directors and best producers in the world know that, really acutely what their weaknesses are, and they plug those with the best people. You might start with a DP, or maybe you're not the most outward, you're not as confident a speaker as some other directors. So you're going to get Isusko on board because this guy will be rapping some garage midway. He'll be getting the vibes up. So, it's about understanding where your weaknesses are and making sure you get the right people to plug those, I think.
And then from a CEO perspective, managing a business is totally different to running a film set. And what have you learned in these, what is it, 10 months you've been out there now?
10 months.
This 10 months, I mean, that is 2 foot jumping off the cliff into the unknown, which is your superpower. You didn't go, I need to find out this, I need to find out. You went, I'm fucking doing it. What have these last 10 months been like from a learning perspective? Because I can hear from you, you're already starting to sound like you kind of know, this, that, and the other. And, oh, yes, we're waiting for the latest tech to drop. I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about. But it feels like you have just really embraced this opportunity to be at the forefront of a new wave of production companies and content creating.
Yeah, it feels very much like my first producing job right now. It's that sink or swim moment again. I sold everything I owned in the UK.
Didn't sell the watch. Please don't tell me you sold the watch. Still got that. Hello.
I bought another one. The I didn't ship a single item of furniture. Sold my car, sold my house, everything. I knew moving
Wow.
up here was highly risky. It's a market that whilst I've dabbled in over the years through, my previous company and sales trips that I've done, it's never been a key market for me. So it feels like that first producing job. It's sink or swim right now, and I think under that pressure, we're thriving. And it's not just myself. I made a very active decision when starting this business to crew it like any Fortune 500 company might. I know that sounds really
Good.
arrogant to say, because we're certainly not. But we have a CEO, a chief brand officer, we have a creative director, we have a head of strategy, we have a head of comms, we have a four-man sales team. This structure of our business could be moved to any industry in the world, and we have the basics that we need to run any company. So that's why the projects we've been taking on this year have been so different to the projects I was doing at my last company, not just filmmaking, but events, experience. I'm at the minute scoping a project for a members club to have their full back end membership subscriptions are all reorganized. Well, it's totally different to what I do. Never touched that sort of work before, but it's brand identity work. So there's still at its
Mm.
center something that we know really well, and that's how to position a brand. And there's just a tech element that I've got to work out with some of our creative coders. So it's just been really interesting coming out here. It's a very different business culture as well, which actually I really enjoy,
Mm.
especially during a year like we've had where things definitely are quieter.
Yes.
Uh, in the UK, you take a client for lunch and you ask how their kids are and what they've been up to, and there's small talk for 90% of the meeting, and then at the end it's like, well, if any business or scripts are around, just give us a shout. Whilst in America, you sit down and they go, right, this is what I can give you, this is what I need from you, and it's all up front. It's like it's very transactional here, which is I really enjoy. I've got some breakfasts and lunches next week, some Christmas meals, and they should be totally social. But I know I'm going to sit down. It's going to right in the new year. This is what we're pitching on. This is what we're working on, and because they understand this is still business. I'm friends with these people, but there is a ecosystem that we all contribute to.
Mm.
And as a
I like that
salesperson,
psychology.
yeah, me too. I didn't know that when I moved here, but I've learned to love it.
Well, I was listening to a podcast the other day just about even the concept of sending an email. So most people, and it, as soon as I heard it, I was like, I totally get it. And this is what it sounds like the Americans are doing in the business: is that if you go, "Hi Toby, hope all is well," hope the thing and da da da, and the move's gone well, and blah 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 blah. Hi, can I get you on the podcast? All of a sudden, that kind of hope you're well doesn't really fucking mean anything, because at the end you've gone, I want something. Whereas if you go, hi Toby, I want to get you on the podcast. I really would love to get you. Hope all is well. Hope everything's nice and the thing.
I
And da, da,
love
da, da.
that. I
It's a
don't
really
do
nice
that.
process.
I don't even do that, and I love that. But I think that's very un-British.
Yes.
As a Brit, small talk first. But you're so right. I'm
No,
I'm I'm
it
putting how are
detracts.
you at the bottom.
Yeah, but that's it. If you do the how are you, hope everything is well at
Yeah.
the end, it then gives it, you go, look, I'm emailing you for a reason. I'm not just reaching da 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 da.
Yeah.
This is what I want. This is how I can do it. I hope you're well. Everything's cool. Big love. Da
Love
da da
that.
thing. And then you suddenly it means more than not just going, hi, how are you? Oh, actually, the real reason I'm asking you for is this. Give me something, or I can give you something. And I like that as a business structure and what you're doing, which kind of feels weirdly it's not a film, but I kind of feel like we've kind of gone business and stuff, but actually the film industry, it's the film business, and whether it's advertising, whether
It
it's
is like
content creation, it's business.
we're lucky we work in a really fun industry. I've
Yes.
been privileged to travel around the world, have access to locations that people would dream of.
Come on, let's
Um,
talk about a couple of those, because you said it on the last one, blowing up some shit in the desert. Let's just touch base on a couple of the
I mean,
big
that
ones.
still stands out as one of my most enjoyable shoots.
So just
Blowing
talk
stuff
us
up
through
in
it.
the desert was fun, but I've been really lucky to have experienced lunar gravity on a vomit comet, or experiencing parabolas on
Oh, what,
a
the OK Go? when they
Yeah,
do their video. Wow.
I've done that flight for a Robinson's fruit juice commercial of all sorts.
Oh God, I love it. If
And
you're
when would
flying in
you,
space, you need some sugary water. Oh,
correct,
actually, yes, I
when
do.
would
Yeah.
you ever go and do that in your personal life? Well, first of all, the tickets are outrageously expensive.
Yeah.
So I'm not flying to Texas paying, what was it, 10 grand a ticket to experience about 2.5 minutes of lunar gravity. And I felt sick for 4 days after. I was
Oh
like
no.
literally grey. It's a horrible experience, but still one of the most amazing stories I've got to tell. And just yeah, I've traveled, most of the world, and that access through our industry is incredible. Will that change because of AI? Probably. You don't
Mm,
want a flight to get a shot of the Burj Khalifa anymore. You're
mm. But
or
is there
yeah.
something that will you kind of talk about those experiences and you look at say if we do talk about the OK Go music videos,
Mm.
if that had been made in AI, would it have been as much of a talking point as it being shot in real life? I think there's that fine balance. And this
Right.
could even be like,
Yes,
there's still always going to be actual real massive events that need to be filmed. But actually, maybe there is a big chunk at the bottom or in the middle, wherever, that actually doesn't need to be experienced in real
Well,
life.
I think that's absolutely right. I think what's going to happen is that we're experiencing a rebalancing right now. So you're going to have AI feeling like it's taking over, but I'm confident that maybe a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, human-made films are
Mm,
going to have a premium attached to them.
yeah.
And you're right. If I can't think what those machines are called now, where stuff trickles, something Goldberg machines.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You touch the one
Rube,
thing and it
Rube
bounces.
Goldberg machine. If I had typed that into AI, it'd probably be an absolute mess right now. But if we had crafted that for, months or however long it would take to deliver it, it's not as impressive. What's impressive about that is that it was done for real. And I
Mm.
think, there's lots of value in those types of films. We were trying to discuss the other day what industry isn't going to be affected by AI. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Having listened, because I watched that the two chaps that did the social dilemma, they did one about AI, and honestly it's like an hour and a half long on YouTube, and halfway through it they just put up and they go, breathe, everyone, just take a
Yeah,
breath, we're at the beginning of it. And you look
yeah.
at it and you go, well, in San Francisco, already got driverless cars, already got
Mm,
driverless cabs. So there you go. There's Uber and all the rest of it. They're all out the window. Doctors,
mm.
if you walk into a pod, it scans you, it takes your blood, it checks your thing. Da 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 da. You got this. Lawyer. You look at a lawyer. A lawyer is someone that is able to regurgitate lots of data over lots of time, lots of case studies. I mean, I honestly, making roads, sorting out my plumbing. But those
Right.
kind of jobs there are probably the ones that AI is going to take a little bit longer.
Tangible,
Yeah,
tangible experience.
tangible.
And I think that is the industries that will not be affected. I was trying to find something in our space that would not be affected. And I think that we came up with wedding photographers. And the reason being is that they're an event that is
Yes,
put on one day that can
yes.
only be captured in that way. And I'm sure if we invested a lot of time and thought into it, we could probably find a way for AI to take that over too, but it would not be cost effective.
No.
So I think experience is going to be valued a lot more, and we've seen that happening anyway in our industry. Advertisers are spending more money building, events or experiences at big shows than they are on screen. That's been shifting for quite a while now, and we're starting to see more briefs in the experience space than we are in the traditional advertising space.
Mm.
I think, the tangible is where the AI world is going to not take over yet. I mean, who knows what will be achieved there. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, well, it's
breathe, just
yeah,
breathe,
that's it. Just breathe. Because they were talking, it was like they turned a Wi-Fi router into a camera,
right?
and you're like, oh, okay. They could scan the waves of the thing, and you kind of go, right, okay. And everyone, you could just see everyone's shoulders were just kind of coming up towards their earlobes. It was like, right, okay, shoulders down. Where are we going? What are we doing? we work in a creative industry where the most important thing is the people's experience. And just because how we've done it for the last, as you said, couple of 100 years is changing, that is nothing to be fearful of. It was a podcast. Listen to it. They go for hundreds of years. Horses dominated towns, cities. You had
Yeah.
industries, blacksmiths, the people that made the carriages, the thing, the da 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 da. Early 1900s, the car came along, changed it all up.
Yeah.
Everyone survived.
They did,
Everyone
but
adjusted.
people
Everyone
were
moved.
scared then, and I
Yeah.
think it comes down to generation. We were just on the edge of, I don't know. I got my first cell phone. Well, sorry, I'm living in America now. For my first mobile, uh, when I
Did you use
was,
it on the sidewalk near a trash
yeah, on
can
the
with?
subway. When I think I was 12 or 13. I don't know when you got yours, but
Yeah.
um, the generation after me, my sister's generation, she's 10 years younger. She got her first cell phone probably like 5 or 6, right?
Nice.
And I'm trying to think of another comparison. Like my touch typing speed is like tenfold of my mum's.
Yes.
And that's because we had access to this stuff much earlier.
Mm,
The people that are 10 years old, 13 years old now, all this AI stuff is just going to be second nature. They're born into it. They're going to
mm.
understand that Wi-Fi camera situation, the technology and why it works, because it's second nature. But for us, it's like, what is this science fiction stuff we're dealing with? And I guess we've got enough going on, and my brain is not as much of a sponge as it used to be, which is sad because I'm not that old yet. But this is happening with or without people, that you can strike and you can have opinions on Twitter and you can start WhatsApp groups about how AI is ruining our industry. But the reality is it's happening, and
Yep.
you either better learn it or, yeah, God knows what will happen.
Yeah. Well, and I'm pleased that we're talking about it now because we are the generation that will determine what kind of industry is left to those in 5, 6 years' time. And we have to, you look at some companies, Ryanair, if they could make AI commercials all day long and not spend any money paying people, I'm sure that, well, I'm sure, look, hey, look, that's a derogatory thing to say. And I'm so sorry if anyone from
Ryanair are a
Ryanair,
sponsor of this
yeah,
podcast, aren't
Ryanair
they?
are not sponsoring, said we're free to talk. But you kind of think there is still some life left in people creating.
Mm.
And I don't want it all to be kind of that doom and gloom of it's all going to end. But I think embracing it, like those that embrace the car, like those that embraced any change in technology, there was probably uproar when we moved from 35 to digital. Uproar, absolute uproar.
Sure.
Some DPs and directors that say that would never ever shoot on digital, and
Yeah.
now it's become a norm, and it's made jobs.
But
It's made more
this is my
jobs.
point about the reverse and going, the adjustment is shooting on film for that aesthetic is so common now. People love
Mm,
it. How many of my directors go, hey, can we shoot this on a Bolex or 16 mil or whatever that might be for that feeling? Is that will inevitably happen if AI does take off in the way that I expect it to do. Human made films will have a premium attached to them in the same way that film has a premium attached to shooting on that these days. When that will happen, I don't know. I just think that that's a likelihood.
mm. Well, when we last spoke, so you came on for a hashtag trending, as I was calling it then, 4.5 years ago. It was May
Yeah,
of
mid
2020.
COVID.
We were bang in the depths of COVID. And you had a little bit of a mystic Meg. You're like, look, we're not going to be coming back to full fitness and shoot with 100 people on a stage in a year or, or in a month. If you're looking in, if now you're looking kind of, what is 25? Because we're recording this in December, early December, but this will be dropped the couple of days before New Year's. What's 25 looking like for your two companies? What's 25 looking like for commercials and advertising? Where are we going?
So it's really difficult. I wish it was an easier question. COVID felt like such a clear, you're locked down and then we will eventually be free. Um, I don't know. I think the AI space is just going to continue to dominate. More and more people are going to learn how to do it. There's a new film being released by a director or an artist every day now, that probably 6 months ago was, against it. And in the advertising space, I think we are going to see a shift away from the traditional. We are going to see more experiences happening. We are going to see, you know, um, yeah, it's tough to say with the advertising space because this year has been such an odd one. I don't, everyone I speak to, it's been quite doom and gloom for everyone. I have experienced some of that, but I think also because of the way I threw my life into such flux, selling everything, moving to the other side of the world, starting two businesses from scratch. Everything's positive. Like everything we're doing is like a step towards something that we're, our targets. And winning any job is like amazing for us. It's so exciting. I told all my business partners there's a chance we might not win a job in the first 6 months, and we won our first job like 4 or 5 days into
Yeah, amazing.
so we started off really well, and things have been exciting. But I really hope filmmaking comes back with a vengeance in 2025. A big part of my business relies on that. So most of the conversation here has been about AI. That's a very exploratory side of our business. And we expect to do a few jobs a year in that space while people get braver and braver because there's a big legal and copyright concern in the AI space that's still all working itself out. And I hope filmmaking continues to grow, and it's the reason I got into the industry. I hope it's here, decades from now.
So look, dude, we kind of hit that point. I think we've been recording for about 50 minutes. And I just want to firstly just take the time to just say thank you so much for kind of being so open and honest about your experiences and where you think the creative industry is going, specifically around the new technologies, specifically around AI. And as I said in the beginning of the chat, your ability to see what you want to do, commit to it wholeheartedly, which I think is encapsulated in you turning around and going, I am selling everything. I am moving. We are flying across the pond. And I'm sure, that needs to have some sort of very heavily involved conversations with the nearest and dearest. You're leaving your family. And I think what I've taken from this is the courage of conviction. Because look, yes, AI is in its infancy, but you're jumping 2-footed in. For those people that are slightly concerned, just jump into whatever opportunity that they can have, even if it is trying something new, getting into photography, doing something short, making something, just getting themselves out of their comfort zone that they've been in for the last 5, 10, however many years, because they have extrapolated their self-worth and their identity around their role on the call sheet. I think your ability to just go, I'm fucking doing it and I'm going full throttle. I think that's the one thing that I will take away from this podcast, is like, whatever fear anyone that's listening to this, whatever fear they may have about starting a business, about starting a venture, hearing you say that you sold absolutely everything and moved to another country to start a new business, I think that is an inspiration for anyone that's listening to go, I can fucking do it as well. And I thank you so much, dude, for coming on.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Again, you should open and close all my presentations. I appreciate all the lovely words.
It's
But,
phenomenal
yeah,
though, dude. It's
there
phenomenal.
was a lot of risk involved in this decision, but ultimately, it's in fact, this is said in this very book about be a swan, and on the surf it's like all this calm ocean, but underneath, your legs are flying like crazy. And I think that's what it's felt like this year. Is like on the surface, everything looks amazing, but behind that, there is some incredible people supporting me and Robin, who is my wife and my business partner now.
Shout
In,
out, Ledge.
in
She's actually a
the,
film god as well. She's got her own episode. I think it's like 57, 58 around there. Great ep.
Wow. What episode number are we on now?
This will probably be 106.
Okay. Wow, that's amazing, man. That's an incredible achievement to do this whilst ADing, and also, you jumped into something, completely different with the podcast and the property,
Yeah.
world. To complete, like, that's not film industry world. I mean, podcast slightly, but you just had an idea, you wanted to give it a go, and you went in wholeheartedly. And I think that's what we've done here. We
Mm,
had a concept, it felt fresh, and people lined up behind to just get involved and muck in. And we now have a team of 10 people in 9, 10 months of operating the business, supporting the company, in all fighting towards one goal.
amazing. That's it. Vision. So look, we get to the end. I give you firstly the big film gods round of applause. Woo! And then it's the last two questions that we always finish on. The last one will be your Oscar acceptance speech when you create the first AI generated feature film that wins best, director, EP, story, whatever. But the second to last question that I always love to finish on, because I think no matter what I think your advice to your younger self would be, hearing it from you now that we've had this chat, it's always refreshing just to hear people who have done it for as long as you have, who have reached the top of their game, kind of go, and you said it. You said those three words, I don't know. And that is so refreshing to normally you kind of have to, fake it to make it and all this nonsense. It's like, no. Your ability to say, I don't know is a superpower. Your ability to follow your gut, follow your instincts and actually go for it is phenomenal. So if you were to choose a point in your life now, looking back, and it's look, you're what? You're 26, 27, 28?
Yeah,
Yeah. No.
yeah.
If you're looking back now, what advice have you got for your younger self?
I don't know why this is coming to mind. I think it's just something I've been thinking about recently, and it's so unrelated to everything we've just discussed. But compound interest, baby. That's something that I keep thinking about. Is I wish I had invested earlier. I have literally started looking at putting my money somewhere better than just a bank. And and it doesn't need to be much. I think I read a scary but amazing statistic. If you were to put £5 a week into an ISA, or
S&P 500.
right,
Yeah,
something that would make you like 8% a year at the age of 18 versus the age of 30, we're talking tens of millions different
yeah.
because of compound interest. And that is a terrifying thing, that I am just too late to the game and I can't ever go back. I don't know. So my advice would be, explore investing earlier. I don't know if that's in ISA or homes or whatever it might be. God forbid it's crypto, because we know a lot of people have lost lots of money, but lots of people have made lots of money there too. But so I think actually really the advice is diversify. And I think that is going back to what I've just done and experienced this year. Is I went from a very traditional business and I went, let's go and do two very different things. My eggs are not all in one basket now. And just looking for that other basket, which maybe is a little bit of investing elsewhere. So maybe that's
that. I like that. And as you said, compound interest, the phrase that came back to me to summarize what I've heard and what I know of you is compound experience. So that interest that you talk about, you've actually compounded that experience / interest in yourself through all the experiences that you've done, through all the shoots that you've been on, through all the opportunities that you've taken. And not having all your eggs in one basket, I think, is a very smart way to be thinking, to have multiple streams of income and to be securely diverse, that whatever happens,
I think
you can still do what you love. You can still do what you love. If you've got your monthly bills covered and you love making animated shorts about Lego, you can do that. And you're not having to do it for the money. You're not having to do it to pay the bills. You're doing it because you love it. Amazing. Right. So I step away now from the mic, and I give you your floor. This is your Oscar acceptance speech.
Wow. Well, I'm not much for speeches, so I'll keep it very short and sweet. But I think the person I have to thank this year has got to be Robin Walsham, my wife and now business partner. When I told her that we were dropping everything and moving to the US, it was really less of a conversation of, hey, do you want to do it? And more, this is happening. And she jumped on board with all the fears and concerns that she voiced. She was right beside me, and she's been so incredibly supportive. And, you know, we now are in this lovely home and running these businesses with some amazing people. And there's absolutely no way I would be doing any of this without her.
Amazing. Ladies and gents, have some support around you, whether it is loved ones, whether it's family, whether it's friends. Compound your interest of experiences. Take the fucking leap. And until we meet again, that is a wrap. So that was a chat with the king or queen.
Thanks, man. I'll give it a
Appreciate
shout
it.
at
the end, so you all know the name. It's the Film Gods Podcast. The what? The Film God Podcast.